Hey everybody, welcome to So Awkward. It's me, Don, and I just saw Blackkklansman. So the whitest person in America is going to review possibly the blackest movie by America's blackest filmmaker. I loved it. I thought it was great. I thought it was. If my eyes seem bloodshot, it's not because I've been smoking weed, which I've never done. I think you get bloodshot eyes. That's what they say in the movies. It's just a very powerful, affecting movie. Let's talk about it. I love Spike Lee. I'm not gonna say I love Spike Lee. I think he's one of, if not the most underrated filmmaker of all time. For some reason, he's one of those filmmakers that people hate. Black people hate him, white people hate him. Most of the people who hate him haven't really seen any of his movies, and I'll admit it's been a long, long time, perhaps a decade, since he's made a movie that I've really loved. But boy, he's made a handful of some of the best movies I've ever seen. Do the Right Thing, one of the best movies ever made, one of the best movies of the past 50 years. Just as relevant today, 30 years later, as it was the day it was released. Perhaps more relevant than ever. More prescient than he realized when he was making it. You could release Do the Right Thing today with zero edits or changes, and people would think it was about our society, because our society has really not changed that much. Black people are still getting murdered by police officers. There's still rampant racism, systemic in our culture. And this is another movie about that. The movie opens with Alec Baldwin as perhaps a real person, I don't know, some professor who's filming a propaganda piece, I guess for the Klan, about how beautiful white America is being subverted by Jews and black people. And I think it was a very, very conscious casting choice by Spike Lee to have Alec Baldwin, who at this point in our society is known as Donald Trump. I think that was very intentional. And then from there, it's just, the movie is about, the plot synopsis that I read before I saw the trailers, the true story of an African-American police officer who infiltrates and poses as a Klan's member. It's kind of about that. It's about a guy, police officer named Ron Stallworth, and I think it's a true story. They call it a true story. It's crazy. I hope it's true. I'm sure they took some liberties, because some very, very contrived and coincidental moments, but it wouldn't be a Spike Lee movie if it wasn't, and that's what makes the movie great. He becomes an undercover cop, and he starts calling and talking to the sect of the Klan, I guess, in Colorado Springs, and so he enlists a fellow undercover police officer who's white and Jewish, played by Adam Driver, to be his face at the meetings. And together they infiltrate the Klan, or an attempt to stop their nefarious plans to do whatever it is the Klan do. You know, terrorize, and in this case, attempt to murder people. This was after Infinity War. This was my most anticipated movie. I was just excited. I thought it looked really good, and I was just excited to see Spike Lee again making a Spike Lee movie. Because for a while, he kind of stopped making Spike Lee's making movies like Inside Man. Did you ever see that one? A really good bank heist movie. But I don't want to see Spike Lee making a bank heist movie. I want to see Spike Lee making a movie about the Klan, about a black cop infiltrating the Klan. That's perfect for Spike Lee. And this movie, if you don't like Spike Lee's movies, this was subdued Spike Lee. Like, it only had a few Spike Lee-isms. where he just goes crazy. And I love his camera work. I love Spike Lee. His camera work at times borders on the surreal, but I think it always captures an atmosphere and the emotions of the characters. I think he's a brilliant filmmaker when he really has a story he's passionate about, and you can tell he's really passionate about this one. The cast was great. I'd never seen the lead actor who plays Ron Stallworth. His name was, let me give him credit, John David Washington. Really, really, really subtle, subdued performance, but just tonally perfect. He was charismatic when he had to be. He was passionate. He was a believable and heroic main character, and I thought the guy did really well. I'd like to see more of his work because it was a very layered but subtle performance. And his chemistry with Adam Driver was amazing. Adam Driver, he's the real deal. That guy, I've only really seen him in the Star Wars movies where he's fine. He's probably the best thing about him. But this movie gave him a lot to do, and it really gave him a character he could sink his teeth into and really act instead of just throw temper tantrums as Darth what's his name? He was my favorite part of the movie. I thought he was really awesome. I'd love to see more movies with these two because they complement each other perfectly. They kind of didn't like each other at times, but there was a respect there, and I thought it was really good and really well done. I don't know if I loved Topher Grace's performance as David Duke, the head of the clan. I know what they were going for. I think they were trying to make him kind of silly, but I think it was perhaps to the detriment of the film. That I just don't think he had really the gravitas or charisma needed. No offense to Topher Grace, who's a fine actor. I just don't think he's a great actor. I think a McConaughey in that role would have been amazing, or maybe even a Bradley Cooper type. But he was fine. He didn't ruin the movie or anything. He was fine. He was good. He just wasn't. I wanted a little bit more from that character. It was a little long. It probably didn't have to be 2 hours and 15 minutes or something. It was never boring, but some of it probably could have been edited down. But it was really, the story is worth telling and worth watching, and even more so than Do the Right Thing, it's a product of its time that will unfortunately probably be timeless, because as prescient and relevant now as Do the Right Thing was 30 years later, this might too. I'm not going to spoil anything, but it's very, 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 very on the nose in some of its mentions, references to Trump. They don't mention Trump's name, but I don't want to spoil anything. A lot of people might roll their eyes at how obvious and on the nose some of the things are. Maybe somebody says, let's make America great again. But I think the acting was so great. Spike Lee's direction was so earnest and passionate, and it was so well written. I think everybody should see it. I thought it was great, and I thought it was a very powerful film that was funny and sad and terrifying, because when you really, really think of racism, it's completely absurd. So I think it makes sense to have you laugh at it, because it's ridiculous. Hating somebody for their skin color, it's laughable. But as you are laughing, there's more layers that build in the story, and it starts to get more sinister and scary. But it keeps that human core where you really love the characters, and just understand what they're sacrificing and what they're fighting for. I loved it. I thought it was great. It's nice to see Spike Lee back again on the big screen, and I hope this is a big hit, because it's a film that I think everybody should see. I thought it was great, and I Lay off Spike Lee. He's great. I think he's a great. Nobody talks about Spike Lee anymore. Like, why? There's no like Blu-ray releases of Do the Right Thing. If Do the Right Thing came out when there was Twitter, that would have been the film that sparked the Black Lives Movement. If you haven't seen Do the Right Thing, go see Do the Right Thing. Or Malcolm X, great movie. Jungle Fever, great movie. Mo Better Blues, great movie. Some of the others aren't great movies, but I respect the man, and I will always see his films because there's always something interesting. But this one had a powerful story, and it had like the pop cultural appeal. I think this will probably be a big hit because it is quirky and funny. Anyway, it's really hot in this car. Yeah, that's all I gotta say. I'm gonna turn on that air conditioner now. Thanks for watching, everybody.